Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and tonight we are looking at the new Kill Team Moloch, and then we also have the new Codex for the Chaos Knights, as well as the new data cards for them as well. All of these items are currently available for pre-order as of today, and we're actually not going to be opening the Codex or the data cards because they also come with the Chaos Knights Army box set, which actually came out a few weeks ago or a couple weeks ago. And we actually did a full unboxing of both of those there. And so we're not going to be going over those again because our thoughts and opinions have not changed on how awesome the Chaos Knights are. So we're just going to go ahead and set those aside. And then let's go ahead and open up Moroch. Now, Moroch puts basically a Trader Guardsman against a squad of Space Marines. Now, right off the bat, one thing that kind of surprises me is this box was not wrapped in plastic. Almost every box that GW ships out is, and this one wasn't. Not sure the reason for that decision. I mean, it's not really a big deal either, but it's just odd in comparison that since almost every box that we ever receive from them is wrapped in some way. Now, the terrain that's in this box, anyone that's looked into it before may have noticed that, you know, it has been seen before. It was released, I believe, about 1 to 2 months ago. We did not do an unboxing of that terrain at that time because we did not receive any. And just to be clear, these items were sent to us by Games Workshop for the purpose of our review, and were sent in advance to do so. That being said, our filming of this is prior to the actual release date of this video, so just to kind of get an idea for the timing of everything. But we're going to go ahead and dive right in. Now, the first piece kind of surprises me because it's one solid piece, which not a big deal. But typically, you're going to still have it be on some sort of sprue. And this is actually a standalone piece, no sprue, which means no trimming, no cutting of any kind needed anyway, unless you're doing like some sort of custom job on there. So set that aside. Now, there is going to be 2 smaller sprues in here for the Trader Commissar and the Chaos Ogren. Those we've actually unboxed before, back when we did Blackstone Fortress, when we did Trader Command. But we're going to go and take a look at them again. But they are 2 of my absolute favorite models from this set, as well as from that set as well. Now, so first we're pulling out the terrain sprues, and I mean, these have a large amount of detail on them. Honestly, though, I was expecting a bit more because, like, in the images of it, it looks like they're just loaded with detail. And so far, this sprue is kind of more basic, other than the actual antenna for the satellite dish and the cables for it. Everything else looks a little bland. Here's the next one. So this one has a bit more in terms of the details on it, and I love that we have the Mechanicum emblem with the servo skull in it. And I mean, that piece alone has a large amount of detail, and I like the tower, the radio tower piece on here. It's full of skulls as well on both sides. Good amount of detail on there. And I mean, this piece alone, I mean, even though some of the pieces are a little thin, it's definitely going to break a little bit easier than some other pieces. But that, at the same time, it's a pretty cool looking piece. I really like this. And here we go for the walls. And again, not a ton of detail, but at the same time, you know, there doesn't necessarily have to be a ton of detail. Now, when they first announced the walls, especially, you know, immediately my thoughts were to, you know, like, how could I incorporate that into Necromunda? And because most of my games tend to be, you know, smaller skirmish type games, and Necromunda seems to get the bulk of the terrain that I end up getting. And, you know, it's one of my absolute favorite IPs as well. And so, you know, I tend to kind of gravitate towards the games I'm more likely to play the most. And for me, more than 40K is going to be Kill Team, just because of the size, you know, like I said, the skirmish, and then Necromunda. And so these pieces definitely work really well together because obviously they're in the same universe. But like with those walls, I mean, I can easily see, you know, some ganger basically spray painted something on there. So, you know, it's definitely gonna take a little bit of research on my part to kind of figure out exactly how to paint graffiti like that, without using an airbrush, because I do not own one. And then here we are with the last sprue. And what's interesting is it looks like we have these kind of big windows, and we have these panels that go over some of the windows. So it looks like some of them will be able to be used for cover where others won't be. And I didn't really see any other covers on there, so it doesn't look, unless there's another sprue that I haven't seen yet, it doesn't look like we're gonna be able to fill up all of the holes with those kind of blast door pieces. All right, so now we have the actual models themselves. Set those aside because as I pick them up, I see we do have more terrain pieces. Now this is definitely one of the sprues I was looking forward to, just because of the sheer amount of detail on here. I mean, we got cables, we got wiring, we have vats of some sort of chemical thing or gas, and, you know, detailed stairs with you know, kind of holes underneath, or at least made to look like there's holes underneath for like kind of drainage and stuff. A great amount of detail on these. Looks like part of this is either going to be part of the main wall for the main structure, or it's going to be, you know, part of the actual outer walls that we were looking at before that I was talking about, like ganger spray painting. And then we have, it looks like a duplicate of the wall sprue. So we do have 3 more of the window covers, but again, not enough to actually cover all of the windows, because we have 3 total, and per sprue there's 5 windows. And then just looking, and okay, so there's no others, no other windows that would come into account. And then we have our 2 Space Marine sprues, which, let's see. All right, so both sprues are exactly the same. Now, from what I've read, they are very much the same sprue that you would get for a set of, I believe, intercessors. But it does come with this extra sprue right here for upgrades to make them more of a unique kill team. Like one of them has actually got a smoke grenade that was already, you know, starting to billow out smoke. And, you know, I love these upgrade sprues like this because there's always so much detail on them, and, you know, give you a lot of options to make some really cool, unique units. And I definitely really like some of these on here. Mostly that open hand grenade. The servo skull that basically attaches to like the shoulder or the back of one of the guys looks really cool as well. One of the arms is holding a radio. We've got a couple extra heads as well. And then both of these sprues are exactly the same as far as the actual Space Marine models themselves. And we'll take a closer look at all the sprues here in a moment. And with the Space Marines, I mean, we do have a decent amount of detail. Obviously, Space Marines tend to not have a lot of detail depending on the chapter. And so, these are kind of more your generic Space Marines. And obviously, in all the pictures, they're done as Ultramarines. Now, for me, because we have so much Black Templar stuff, and they are my favorite of the actual loyal Space Marine factions, probably going to do these ones up like Black Templars as well. And definitely going to lean more heavily on the upgrade sprue to make them more unique. Because that's the one thing I dislike about, doing kind of like swarm armies, like Imperial Guard, Tyranids, Greenskins. You have a ton of troops in some cases, and the problem with those is so many of them are the exact same. And so, it definitely makes, doing them, in a unique fashion much more difficult, other than just, changing colors. And then, so here we are with the sprue that has the Traitor Commissar as well as the Ogre on it together. I actually had forgotten that they share a sprue. And then we have a single sprue for all of our Traitor Guardsmen. And this is a new sprue altogether. And from here, we'll be able to actually tape. We do have this other sprue as well. And so these combined will give us our unique Traitor Guardsmen. And I know for me, I'm going to be doing mine all to look like Blood Pact, because that's what I did with Blackstone Fortress and Traitor Command. And so these ones are going to get the same treatment as well, and definitely taking steps to make sure that they look more very unique, so that way they stand out from the others. But now we have more Traitor Guardsmen to use in games of Blackstone Fortress, because some of the harder modes do allow for more units, and Blackstone Fortress, it doesn't really release those models anymore individually. So this is a great way to beef that up without having the same unit keep coming back. So here's the Traitor Guardsman sprue, the main one. Like I said, it looks like these are all completely unique, but some of them do kind of have some similar poses to some from Blackstone Fortress. And so this is, let's see, this one is the upgrade sprue for the Space Marines. This is the one for the Traitor Guardsmen, and then this is the one for the Ogrin and the Traitor Commissar as well. Both of them are a lot of fun to paint. Definitely looking forward to doing it again. And then here's our standard Space Marine sprue. And then here are our building sprues. This is the one I was saying before that had all the extra detail compared to the other ones. This is the wall sprue, and again there are two of this one. And that's for the radio tower. This is for the antenna, or the satellite dish rather. And then this is the piece that is basically kind of the roof or the floor, not sure which, to the main structure. And then we have our divider. We have our bag of bases and our individual base for the Ogrin. We have our transfer sheet, which is predominantly Ultramarines. Actually, it's just Ultramarines. And then we're going to go ahead and open this up. And as always, if you are using a knife to open these like I am, Make sure you are always cutting away from yourself, as well as if you are underage, make sure you do have a parent or guardian, at the very least supervising you or doing it for you. All right, so first off, we have our assembly guide. It is thick. Now, it is some of the multi-tone guides like we are used to and like we would expect. And in several of the different Space Marines, there are different poses that you can choose from for the different sergeants and things like that. So there's a lot of variation just in the Space Marines alone in here, as well as with the Traitor Guardsman. And I have a feeling that there might be a couple that are almost identical to some from Blackstone Fortress. But I'm taking a quick look, and so far none of them stand out as being the same, other than the Ogren and the Traitor Commissar. Yeah, these all look to be entirely unique, so not just like an upgrade sprue. And then just taking a look at the buildings instructions, trying to see if my assumption on those windows was correct. Okay, so it doesn't actually show putting them in at all. So I'm seeing if they show them towards the end or if they are extra pieces that you can put in if you'd like. Yeah, they're actually not in the instruction booklet, so that's actually a surprise. And then we have our actual rule book. It's going to have, a lot of lore for the location of this battle, as well as some painted examples of the same units. And then we get to page 32, where we really start going into the rules for how to name your units, picking your squad themselves, and then we go into the actual cards for each of the models. And then checking to see if there's any examples of like special units of renown, kind of like what we see in the Warzone books. But so far I don't think we're going to see anything like that in here. I think it's going to be specific to these two forces. And in the book, it does actually show using some of those window covers that we were talking about. And then we have our actual missions themselves. So it looks like about 9 total missions. And then we have our narrative data slate and our data cards for each of the teams. And those data cards do have the note that you do have permission to copy them. And then lastly, we have our board. Now that we got that opened, all right. Whoa. There we go. So we do have, like some patches of concrete and things like that. On the other side, we do actually have bigger patches of concrete. So like if you are using all the terrain, this is probably going to be the side that you're going to want to use. I love the detail on here. I mean, it looks like a photograph of an actual like built board, not just like a drawn board for you. So it definitely gives a lot more life to your tabletop itself. So I really like that. And it also looks easy enough to duplicate if you were going to basically make like an expansion on the board for like maybe a more full scale battle. Unless of course you were to get two of these boxes and then you could put them side by side. But definitely is a really cool looking kit. Definitely looking forward to getting the Chaos or Trader Guardsman built up, because I absolutely love those models, and I'm hoping that sometime over this year or the next year, we see a Trader Guardsman Codex. I haven't heard anything either way on it, but with the attention that we're getting here on them, as well as with Blackstone Fortress, and rumors that some of the Blackstone Fortress's items are going to be able to be released again, definitely makes me think that we have a chance of seeing something like that come out. Now with the overall Chaos Codex, it may have rules in there for them as well, but I'm hoping that we do get a specialized Codex just for Trader Guardsmen, because there are enough out there as far as the lore is concerned to justify giving them their own army. And honestly, with that, you could have some Trader Guardsman figures like these, and you could also use like regular guardsmen and then kind of modify them slightly in order to make them more unique, and kind of show them in different stages of how recently they turned. So definitely something to think about. Hopefully they do something like that in the near future, or at the very least continue to at least add to the Trader Guardsmen, because I am a huge fan of those. And reading the Gaunt's Ghost books, dealing with the Blood Pact and the Sons of Sek, I really want to mirror them or kind of replicate them on my tabletop. So doing that definitely is going to be something that I'm going to want to do, but only time is going to tell on that. But that's it for tonight. Thank you guys all for watching as usual, and I hope you all have a great night.